6 suspects, including a Frio County judge and 2 Pearsall City Council members, are facing charges of vote harvesting and tampering with evidence.
KSAT Investigates has been breaking new developments on this story for months now. Among that group, a former candidate for Texas House, 2 former mayors, a Frio County commissioner. This comes 2 months after we first told you about 6 others being arrested in this case. As of now, the total number of people charged is 15.
So we have a major scandal of voter fraud and a stolen election. 15 people, including judges, former mayors, city councilors, are all indicted, and you've probably heard nothing about it because they're all Democrats. Here's a quick message from the sponsor of this video, Zocdoc. You ever do anything weird, something's off? Your eye's swollen, your neck got a weird pain, or you have a cold that just won't quit. And instead of calling a doctor, you scroll TikTok and YouTube like that's gonna fix it. Or maybe you're just too busy. You think it'll heal on its own. Or you're like, I don't know which doctor to go to. Trust me, I've made every excuse in the book too. But now I use Zocdoc, and it makes things a lot easier. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and instantly book appointments. We're talking about over 100,000 doctors from across every specialty, from mental health, dental, primary care, urgent care, you name it, they got it. And with Zocdoc, you can filter by insurance, see who's nearby, and check real reviews from verified patients. Now, simply just pick your time slot and boom, appointments usually happen between 24 and 72 hours, sometimes even the same day. Now, full disclosure, I personally use Zocdoc, and the doctor that I go to now, I found on Zocdoc. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to Zocdoc.com/Nate the Lawyer. The link is in the pinned comment or in the description of this video. Now, back to the story. This is Frio County, Texas. The county has a population of about 18,000 people, with 77% of those people identifying as Hispanic. Now, this is a swing county in Texas. For instance, the last 2 presidential elections, they voted overwhelmingly for President Trump, and in 2016, they voted for Hillary Clinton. So now let's fast forward to 2022, where there was an election for what's known as county judge. That's the person who's going to run the county. Now, the Democratic primary had a runoff election, and that election was between Mary Moore and Rochelle Camacho. Now, during this election, Camacho and her team started putting out rumors about Mary Moore. See, Mary Moore happens to be black, and Frio County 77% Hispanic. So Team Camacho went to work saying, hey, this black woman shouldn't represent our Hispanic population, because one of the things that they were saying that Mary Moore was going to do was get rid of all of the taco trucks.
Miss Mary Moore, are you gonna get rid of all the taco signs here in Pearsall?
Why would I do that? First of all, we in a community that is majority Hispanic. Culturally, everybody loves tacos. So you've been here for years. I'm coming to enhance the community. I'm not coming to take any jobs away. I am not coming to shut down and get rid of all the PD department. I'm here to make this community better. So the answer is no. What you've heard are lies, and people make up those lies because they have to do something to make me look bad, and so far it's not working.
So Mary Moore and Rochelle Camacho went into the election night with all this controversy, and Camacho came out on top. She won the election. Now, after all was said and done, Moore had only lost by 72 votes. But something was fishy, to say the least. See, a closer look at the vote tally shows that Moore only lost by 72 absentee votes. These are voters that don't show up at election day, but send their votes in through the mail. Now, Moore was suspicious, so she started her own investigation. Now, quote, according to the affidavit, Moore went to the Pine Hills Estate Second, a nursing home. Now, the reason why she went there is because a lot of these votes came out of this nursing home, and got video of Camacho, Rodriguez, Ramirez, Castillo, and a woman who has not been charged walking out of a resident's home. The records state Moore saw Camacho walk up to Rodriguez and another woman's car with what appeared to be carrier envelopes. Those are the envelopes necessary for absentee ballots. Now, Mary Moore and her team came to the conclusion that Camacho was actually vote harvesting. So, what's vote harvesting?
What is vote harvesting?
Vote harvesting is the idea that what will happen is that you'll collect completed absentee ballots from voters and you deliver them to polling places or election offices in time for the election.
Is that legal to do in Texas?
It is, and with some exceptions.
Now, one exception that's huge in Texas is that you're not allowed to pay people to vote harvest. Now, if you do that, then you're breaking the law. It's actually a third-degree felony in the state of Texas. Now, this brings us to a woman named Cheryl Denise Castillo. Now, Castillo was not charged because she died in October of 2024. Now, Castillo is very important to the story because Castillo told Frio County election workers how certain candidates would pay her through Cash App, not her own Cash App, but a relative's Cash App. And they were paying her to fill out mail-in ballots, pick them up, and then drive them to election polling places and drop them off. Now, if this was true, this obviously violated the law. Now, this also was confirmed by several residents of the nursing home who said Castillo picked up their mail-in ballots and in some instances advised them how they should vote and who they should vote for.
Warrants alleged several of the suspects, who were candidates at the time, paid a woman thousands of dollars to do just that. Public records show that woman died in the fall. Court records also show voters told investigators the woman picked up their ballots and in some instances told them how they should vote.
How hard is it to prove that vote harvesting is happening?
It's kind of a he said, she said.
Now, because this was such a tight election, it was clear that this vote harvesting could have actually swayed the election. So, because of the magnitude of what had happened, police made some arrests.
In the last hour, KSAT Investigates has learned that 9 people have been indicted in connection to a massive state-led vote harvesting investigation. These are the 7 suspects who turned themselves in today.
Now, in total, there were 15 arrests, and those arrests were the who's who of politicians in this area, from former mayors to a sitting judge. It is insane.
These right here are 6 people facing felony charges in a voting investigation that's led by the Attorney General's office. Among those suspects, Frio County's judge, council members, and a school board member.
Now, when it was all said and done, there were 15 people arrested and indicted for this vote harvesting scam. But since they're all Hispanic, they claimed racism.
That's why we're calling this a persecution, not a prosecution.
We are witnessing here today is what we feel is a calculated campaign of intimidation.
A challenge to felony charges.
This is not law enforcement. This is voter suppression in the guise of protecting our voting integrity.
The League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, is throwing their support behind several Frio County elected officials facing charges of vote harvesting.
I think there are better things and maybe better ways to use their resources than to be picking on people in a very small town that I believe are just doing their civic duty and trying to get people to vote, trying to get the vote out.
In today's climate, an accusation is almost like a conviction. And that's the sad part. The harm has been done, the damage has been done, careers and lives have been destroyed. That is the trust that is being eroded.
Now, if we just look at this case cold, the state has a pretty good case. They got phone records, witness statements, video, and they actually have records of payments. So it seems like people were being paid to vote harvest, take ballots from point A to the polling place while they were getting paid for it. Now, there's an interesting piece to this story, is that the law, the felony that they're being charged with, is questionable at best. In September 2024, U.S. District Judge Xavier Rodriguez ruled that SB 1 vote harvesting ban was unconstitutional. The judge ruled that it was vague and overbroad and there were First Amendment problems and stopped Texas from enforcing the law. Now, it went up on appeal and the Fifth Circuit stayed the injunction, so the law remains enforceable while the appeal continues. So at the bottom line, even if some of the conduct that is being alleged by the government clearly violated this law, if that law is found unconstitutional, then these defendants don't have anything to worry about. And these defendants are saying you should stay our case or you should hold off on our case until the appeals court decides whether this law is good or not. So now this case has so many different twists and turns. On one end, you have a law that may be too overbroad and may violate free speech principles. But then on the other hand, what these people were doing allegedly was pretty scummy, right? They're going to a nursing home, handing out ballots, telling people allegedly how to fill those ballots out, and then transporting those ballots to polling places. And for those of you who don't watch all my videos, we had a very similar case that occurred in New York where a Republican was found to have been doing something very similar to this.
6 people are charged tonight with falsely applying for absentee ballots. then stuffing the ballot boxes with them. Prosecutors say all were on the volunteer campaign staff of Yu Ching James Pai, who went on to win last year's Republican primary in the 20th New York City Council District. As alleged in this case, said DA Melinda Katz, the defendants went to the Board of Elections and filed fraudulent absentee ballot applications on behalf of 23 voters they had never met.
Now, the huge difference in this case is that the campaign officials essentially stole the ballots and filled them out themselves. But the part that I think is important to understand is that both of these cases deal with mail-in ballots, absentee ballots. And we hear how they are secure, but obviously all of these cases of voter fraud or vote harvesting have to deal with the integrity of mail-in ballots. So now let me know how you feel about this story in the comment section, because to be honest with you, it seems like mail-in ballots have a lot of issues that can get someone elected, because in both of these cases, in the case in New York and in the case in Texas, those were really, really tight races, and these mail-in ballots obviously made a difference. As always, tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section. Tell me, hey Nate, I think mail-in voting is great. I love it. I think it's the securest thing in the world. I'll disagree with you, but we can have a conversation. With that, don't forget, like, subscribe to all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer. I'm out. Peace.